Hello, everyone. I've organized all of the text messages that Nicole Kessinger, the mistress of Chris Watts, had in correspondence with the detectives, and also the few text messages that were between her and Chris. So first I want to walk through the text messages between her and Chris so we can break down all of their contradictions between themselves. Now, most of the correspondence, it seems like she had deleted her side on what she said. There's very little on what she had said. His side is pointing to the left where it's red, and then hers is on the right coming blue. So this is the very first one on June 27, 2018, and it's Chris telling her, "Promise, I'm about loyalty, truthfulness, and being dedicated. I don't like to play games unless it's role-playing. If you want me there, I will be there. Ice cream, cookies, and lollipops. Sounds like a cheap meal night. Laugh out loud." Now, first off with the first sentence about loyalty, truthfulness, and being dedicated. Obviously, this sounds like the first emails that they sent through each other's business emails, saying the exact same thing. And clearly he's lying because he can't be truthful. He's having an affair with his wife. There's no loyalty about that. There's nothing truthful about that. And that's not being dedicated to your spouse. And also goes the same for NK. She can't be any one of those things because she's also having the affair. She knows it, and she's trying to act like she thinks that he's not married or getting a divorce. And it's also ironic that he states this to her on June 27th, which is the exact same day that SHANANN, Celeste, and Bella take a flight to North Carolina, where they spend the next 6 weeks. So after they leave, he's sitting there texting these messages to his mistress. Now, everything after that last text had been deleted. So 2 days after that, it shows up that he says again, "I'm still going to see you. It won't be as often as we like, but I will make it happen. You think you're the only one addicted right now? I'm so hooked on you." So it is kind of confusing when he says it won't be as often, but we will make it happen. That's not because his family is still there. He has free reins on whatever he wants to do now that his family is out of state. But clearly he did make it happen because he was oversleeping at her house every single night. So that same night he had said, "Sleeping without your warm body next to me isn't going to be fun tonight." And it's also obvious now he has already stayed with Nikki. Now, 3 days after SHANANN leaves, this is a message going to Chris from NK. And I believe that NK is talking about one of her friends because she says she supports me, but her parents were in a situation like that when she was a kid and it came up. So I believe she spoke to this friend about her having an affair with a married man. There had to have been a problem with the situation that she's not clarifying with Chris because she says it won't bother me. But in the text itself here, she's not saying anything bad about the situation. She's just saying that her friend said that her parents were in a situation like that, but nothing bad was said. But she says it won't bother me. I'm not going to let it stop me seeing you. And this straight up says that I don't care that you're married. I don't care that you're having an affair, that I'm having an affair. We're going to do this either way. And then she states again, "I made up my mind." So there's absolutely no doubt in her mind that she wants to end the relationship. And then that's when she says, "Are we bad people?" So no matter what her friend said about her parents being in a situation like this, she knows subconsciously that she's doing wrong. Her friend has probably told her some really bad things about her parents' affair. But it doesn't matter what someone else went through and a possible bad scenario of what she's doing. The outcome in her mind might go better than what those people went through when they had an affair. She clearly thought she was invincible, and that clearly backfired. And it backfired so hard that people are still pissed off about it almost 2.5 years later. So I wonder if she regrets it now. Now, Nikki stating here again to Chris on June 30th, 3 days after SHANANN and the girls leave. She states, "I have an idea, by the way. I have a free hotel stay in the Holiday Inn. Not sure if you can swing it this month, but we can road trip to the mountains or southern Colorado for a day or two if you won't. Won't cost a dime." Laugh out loud. So if they did start their relationship at the beginning of June with those business emails said on June 5th, 3 days after his wife and his children are gone, 25 days after those emails started, she's now planning to take him to a hotel. And they're clearly already sleeping with each other, and he's talking about having her warm body next to him. So clearly this relationship is hot and heavy 25 days after this email exchange. She was taking full advantage of the situation and the fact that his wife and his children are not in the same state at this time. And on July 1st, Chris says again, I'd love to be a part of it. Being in your life is something that I crave. And then later on that night, he says, conserve it while you can. I enjoyed our conversation tonight. I hope you have a great night. Sweet dreams, Nikki. So now in between that text time frame and the discovery on June 30th, it shows that Watts searched the internet for information on tickets to the Bandamere Speedway. So they clearly were planning to go there during this time frame. And the timeline in the discovery around this time frame until about July 4th, there's no activity going on in the timeline there. And being that he said, I love to be a part of it, there had to have been some type of question beforehand, like the mistress asking him if he wants to be in her life, if he likes being with her, and here he is reassuring her that he'd love to be a part of her life. And being that he's telling her to conserve it while you can, it sounds like whatever they've done together and the feelings that they've caught for each other by this point is something that she also craves, something that she also wants. And he's telling her to conserve it until possibly the next time that they meet. Chris had also said that NK had seen an ultrasound photo, and that is when NK found out that SHANANN was pregnant. And that's why she was upset and stormed out of the house. So she storms out to her truck. This is when Chris says that he has to talk her off the ledge. And in the discovery from the jailhouse interview, it states, with regard to if he and Kessinger ever fought, he says that they never fought, but he had to calm Kessinger down a few times. Kessinger got upset when she realized she would always be the other person, and he, Watts, would always put his wife first. The first incident where Kessinger realized he put his wife first was when he left her house on July 4th, 2018. He told Kessinger just because he had to leave didn't mean she didn't need to take a step back. And Kessinger told him that she thought it would be better that they didn't see each other for the rest of the day on July 4th. But Kessinger ended up asking him to come over after she returned from a baseball game, and he went to her house. And then also later that night, which is in the main discovery, is when Chris went to go see some fireworks with Nick and Amanda Thayer. And then he went to their house, and then he ended up going to Nicole's house. Now, this one I find interesting because this is on July 4th. This was the first time, supposedly, that NK had went to the Watts home. And the texts are only showing to start at 7:30 p.m. when we've heard in his prison interview, and I believe it was in Sherilyn Cadle's book, Letters from Christopher, that this was the day that Chris had to talk NK off of the ledge. Because prior on 7/3, he had stayed the night over at NK's house. SHANANN was trying to call him that morning. She was flipping out because he wouldn't pick up the phone, but I guess she didn't realize that he had the day off, so he was sleeping in, but her not knowing that he was at his mistress's house. So he goes outside to talk to SHANANN on the phone, and then he goes inside. NK is in the shower. He tells her that he has to go. She asks him if he's going to come back, and he says probably not. So she gets extremely upset over this. So he ends up going home. They end up talking somewhere, somehow. She ends up at his house for the first time, and this is when she was supposedly had helped with his fitness tracking and his macros with eating. So this had to have been the day that she's seen all the photos in the house, and she was upset, and she did end up admitting this in one of her interviews to CBI, when she said she looked around at all the photos and seen the photos of his beautiful wife and his beautiful children and the beautiful life, and she stepped back and said, are you sure you want to have this affair, basically? You have such a beautiful life. Just as she explained in her emails on the work business email that started on June 5th. So now that we know what happened during the day on July 4th, later on that evening when he was with the Thayers, or just beforehand, he texts Nicole and says, I had a protein shake before I left. I thought there would be more here. I'm resisting the funnel cakes and tater twists. Laugh out loud. So then at 10:30, he texts her again. I'm stopped in traffic too at 112th. Lots of people here. And then at 11:02 p.m., he says, just pulled up to your place. Meanwhile, this entire time he's having the affair, he is using his wife's vehicle the entire time. The Lexus that was paid for monthly by Lavelle for the work that SHANANN done. So then at 6:53 p.m., he says, I'm getting drenched right now, laugh out loud. I'd like to see you all wet in the rain. And then a few minutes later, he says, my signal sucks so bad here. It might take a while to download your pictures, crushed tacos, and the rest is cut off. So even though she was mad because she's always going to be the other woman, possibly just found out that his wife is carrying another child, storming out of his house because it was the first time she had been there and realized what a beautiful life he did actually have. Oh, might I mention also that Chris did mention that she is bipolar. Now, whether that's true or not, it would explain some of her severe mood changes, but not only because of a possibility of being bipolar, but the situation that she actually has put herself in. I mean, she put herself into having an affair with a married man, and she hates the fact that she'll always be second fiddle. But if you hated that so much, why would you put yourself there to begin with? Why would you guilt trip this man so bad every day of your relationship, probably, about you being the second fiddle, always being put second after his wife and his children? Why would you guilt trip him when you're the one that put yourself in this position? He says you're the one that pursued him. And also, data also says the same because you Googled Chris and SHANANN in 2017, a year before their murders. So as if the situation isn't already screwed up to begin with, you're now engraving in his head about you being the second person and how much you hate it. And he wanted you so bad that he would do anything for you, including murdering his own family to get you and to keep you. And look how it ended up. Now, between July 4th and this text message on July 9th, she texted Chris saying, "You're so considerate." There wasn't a whole lot going on in the timeline in the discovery, except for on July 7th. They ended up going to the Rusty Bucket at Orchard Town Center, and his phone also connected to the Crushed Red restaurant. So then she texts them this on July 9th. And July 9th is actually the same date that SHANANN had the fallout with Chris's mom about the ice cream and Celeste's food allergies. So then the next text that is showing is July 17th. Now, what happened between July 9th and the 17th regarding the affair, on July 14th, Kessinger and Watts visited a Mustang museum in Boulder together. And there was photographs in his phone as well from this event. And then that same day, he's also searching the internet for another restaurant that was next to the Shelby Museum. So they went to this museum and then they probably went out to eat afterwards. And then we have on July 16th that Chris took some photographs, obviously for NK because she loves flowers, I guess. But he took these photos from the Anadarko office that were next to his truck at the office where they would see each other. And then he's searching for Dave Bunk minerals, which could be crystals for NK. It's not the first time he's searched this before. And then he's Googling topics for touch-up paint for bottles for a Toyota, which Kessinger had, a 4Runner Toyota. And then on July 17th, he texts NK and says, "I hope it's 2:30. You need some rest, boo." It's kind of gross, in my opinion, that he's calling his mistress boo because that's also one of the pet names that he used for SHANANN. And knowing that he changed SHANANN's contact information in his phone, it probably said one of his pet names he had for SHANANN. And then when he changed her contact information, he noted it as SHANANN. So he probably did the switcheroo with the names with his wife and his mistress. That's really sad to think about. Now on July 26th, he text messages her and says, "There it is. Yes, you deserve a pay increase for everything you're doing. Your plate is only going to get fuller because people know what you can do. They need to compensate you now rather than later." Now in hindsight, you can actually say, yes, her plate was going to get fuller. So now the next message is for August 11th. So we'll go from between July 26th and August 11th. On July 28th is when they went to the sand dunes and then they spent the night at the campground. Now, July 29th is also the time that SHANANN started to get a little tired of the lack of communication with Watts. And she said, "Sorry, you're so tired, but I haven't talked to you in 48 hours. I had a hard weekend. Glad I have you to talk to." Continuing the sarcasm, she added, "If you care." He replied back, "I'm sorry you had a hard weekend, boo. I will make it up to you, I promise. I'm sorry, I'm out of it tonight." SHANANN reported, "It would have been nice for my husband to show interest in how the girls and I are and the baby. I'm done begging for you to talk. See you Tuesday," she added. "You're out of it from playing." And then July 31st is when Chris flew out to North Carolina, and at the same time, he is mass transferring all of his nude photos of Kessinger from whatever app he had it in into his phone into the secret calculator application to further hide his affair. And while they're having all of their marriage problems throughout all of these days, on August 4th, NK is Googling for wedding dresses. And then on the same day, she's also Googling for Chris Watts and SHANANN's Facebook accounts. So whether or not that she knew SHANANN was pregnant on July 4th when she flipped out that day, she definitely knew at this point, being SHANANN's profile on Facebook was completely public. She had to have known at least by this day she was pregnant again. And the marriage was completely crumbling, confusing the hell out of SHANANN because he couldn't man up and just tell her how he felt. He had to crush her by saying that he doesn't want another baby. And she says, he's changed, I don't know who he is. And because he said that he didn't want the baby, that she doesn't feel safe with him anymore. And she states to Chris, something else is wrong that you're not saying because lack of communication. It doesn't cause you to not be present or touch me or love me. Besides, the lack of communication, hasn't been with me in 6 weeks. This fucking sucks. I really don't want to leave here. And then that's also the same day that they flew back to Colorado from North Carolina on August 7th. And then August 8th is when Kessinger searched on Google, marrying your mistress. All the while that SHANANN is starting to Google topics for couples therapy. August 9th is when they go to the ultrasound to find out the sex of the baby. And that same day is when Watts had sent SHANANN the doll photo. And August 10th is when SHANANN left for Arizona. It shows the text message that Chris had sent to NK, and he says, Rocky game didn't end until 10:20. Good thing you left early. You would have been there for a while. So clearly she must have went there with her friends. And then August 11th, he says, I hope you had a great night, beautiful. Miss you. Get home safe. Sweet dreams, my sexy empanada. And then the 12th, she texts him and says, no, you can't buy the scrolls, laugh out loud. Dude, the Dead Sea Scrolls are some of the oldest, most important writing in the world. He says, been pounding fruit and it had a whole jar of asparagus. He didn't smoke any barbecue this time. He did hot dogs, so I did fruits and veggies. And then also he says, nice, that sounds like a good time. I haven't seen an IMAX in a while. Sounds like you're having a fun day with the folks. I'm still at the birthday party. Kids are soaked from the water balloons. And then the day of him murdering and disposing of his family, he also texted her at 2:44 p.m. This is supposedly before she spoke to him on the phone when she was at her apartment when Jim, her friend, was there. And he says, oh my God, that is absolutely ridiculous. They would freak out.
Did you and Nikki ever fight?
We never fought, but like I said, I had to calm her down a bunch of times.
Yeah, you started to mention that when we were talking to you before about her getting upset about some video or something about being bipolar, or
well,
what are you talking about?
I think either my dad told me about that or John Walsh told me about she made a couple videos when she was just talking to herself, saying that she was bipolar or something like that. But a lot of things was when she realized that she's the other person in the relationship, that I'd always put my wife first over her, and that's what kind of made her take a step back a few times, and then I had to kind of calm her down.
Tell me about those times. What'd that look like?
So the first one was probably around July 4th when I had to leave her house because she wanted to kind of spend most of the day together before she went to a baseball game or something. And when I had to leave, it kind of just made her kind of take a step back and wonder what she was doing. And I just told her hey, just because of what's going just because I had to leave doesn't mean you have to just take a step. I was comforting her at some point. I don't even know why I was doing it. Maybe I knew I was too far gone at that point, but it was.
Because this is SHANANN's pissed. She's called you 10 times. You were sleeping. You had your day off, and then you go outside to talk to her on the phone and then tell Nikki that you need to go home just in case she calls back and all that, right? Mm-hmm. So what did she say to you, Nikki?
She was in the shower and she said okay, and then that's when I talked about calm her down. It's she's on the phone. So.
And was she we're breaking up, we're not gonna, I can't do this?
No, she said she didn't want to, she didn't think it was safe or it was good for us to see each other anymore that day, the rest of that day. It's because of all that. And I'm okay, that's fine. And then she asked me to come over later on after she got back from her baseball game.
And so you did that?
Mm-hmm.
Did she know that SHANANN was pregnant with a boy?
No.
Did she know SHANANN was pregnant?
No.
And why is that? You just didn't tell her?
I didn't tell her. Because we had met.
But SHANANN put that on Facebook.
That's
how did she not see that?
I don't know. Maybe she did and she just was waiting for me to tell her, or she put it out of her head.
How about your Facebook account? You deleted that at some point? When did you do that? And why?
I think it was, got back August 7th. Went to work. I think it was probably August 8th. That's when Nikki told me she told her friends about me. And I just figured, they'd probably look me up on Facebook and see that I was pregnant. If Nikki already knew probably already, but that's the reason why I did that. If I never met Nikki, would I ever have, thought our relationship was bad? Probably not.
Interesting.
That's one thing I always thought about. Like, even Nikki asked me, like, if I don't want you. She said, I don't want you to leave your wife just because of me. I'm just like, what do you mean? She said, well, just if you met me, like, would you have known? I'm like, no. So I never thought I would have strayed away from her at all. Like, I've never tried to follow anybody,
Right.
Like, I've seen girls smile at me before, never done anything about it. With her, it was just like, it's like she had a leash on me and she tugged me away. As soon as she walked, I'm like, what the heck is going on?
It was just that one time. So it's fine. I have no desire to go over there. I mean, that's like a situation where he's living with somebody that he's separated from. It's not my life. It's their life, And I started telling him, like, the time you spend with me, you spend at my house because this is our space. And that's not my space. And for me, I think it's really disrespectful to go over there. And so we stopped by there once, like on the way to my house. And I was there for maybe like 15 minutes. And I saw a picture of her holding her kid. She's so beautiful. And I remember thinking, like, oh, you're going to too. And we laughed. And I remember telling him after that, it was like, have you ever thought about, like, really trying to fix your marriage with her? And he's like, I don't really want to. And I was just like, man, like, you got a beautiful wife. Like, she's the mother of 2 of your kids. And I'm just like, you already have all of this stuff. Like, you already have the house and the car and the kids and the marriage and the wife. And I'm like, are you sure you don't want to fix that? I'm like, what if you, like, try to...
That was when I had said, hey, when you go to North Carolina, I really think you should try to fix things with your wife. And he kept asking, well, what about us? And I was trying to kind of take a step back and see if he would fix things before attempting to pursue things with me, because I wanted to know that if all of these things he's saying, like, yes, we're getting separated, and yes, all of these things that he's saying are happening, I wanted to know that it was like, you were doing this like you said you were prior to me coming in your life, and it had nothing to do with me, and so for me it was like, I really wanted them to fix it. I would have just left the situation. Like, trying to patch things up with his wife, and he told me he loved me, and I was like, don't say that to me. Like, please go try to fix, and I mean, and that might even be in the text too, where it's like, don't say those words to me, and then go try to make peace with your wife and lay in bed with another woman.
He kept telling me, like, I don't want to, I don't think she wants to, and I was just like, please try, just please try. I just thought he had such a beautiful life, and I was willing to just leave his life. I was like, if you work things out with your wife, I'm gone. That
was never anything I conveyed to him. Me, instructing him. I think I made it clear that I wasn't 100% sure this was the man of my dreams, and I was going to spend the rest of my life with him or anything, but I was enjoying the time that I was spending with him at that point.
You're referencing that he has 2 kids, and you don't like that because you want to have that experience with somebody else? Is that what?
I just said I wasn't sure if he was the one I want to be with, because he had already done everything.
Okay.
I was like, it would be really nice to kind of have kids and have my own marriage and all of that stuff. So that was never anything I conveyed to him. Have kids and have my own marriage and all of that stuff.
Yeah, that was me pushing that. And
he was so infatuated with what we had going on.
There are quite a few people
who would tell us, and who do tell us, we need to look into Nikki more, Nikki Kissinger. All the way from the extreme end of things being, Nikki's the one who ordered the hit.
She was there. I'm in the basement.
She was there. You know, so the extreme is, she's the one who told Chris to do it. She's the real problem. All the way, that's the extreme side, and then all the way to, well, there were these texts where she was infatuated, she was in love, she was saying how good Chris was in the sack, and maybe we should look at her more. You know, what would you say to those people?
Like, you know, she had her moments where I had to talk her like off a ledge kind of deal.
What does that mean?
Like, I guess after the fact, there was like videos of her that she was like recording herself because she was like bipolar or something. I never do that. But it's like, and she would get worked up about nothing. She would just like, she came to my house once, because I think it was like July 4th, I didn't have to work that day. So I didn't like get up at like, 4 o'clock and go home. And she had called me like 10 times in a row. And I didn't hear it because I was asleep. And I was just like, and she was pissed. Chanel was pissed. And like I called her on outside, like, where are you at? Like, what? Like I was like, I didn't have to work today. It was like, you called me at like 5:30. It was like, well, she just want to talk to you at 7:30. And like I was sleeping. She was like, she just like, screw you, like like don't know where you're at. And I was back inside something. Like, I gotta go. And she was just like, okay, can we come back? And we probably not.
So wait a minute, you kind of lost me there. Were you at Nikki's place when
Yeah.
Shanann called you?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you were sleeping in her bed.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to work that day, because I didn't have to that day. Okay, first holiday I ever had off. And, she now was pissed, and, kind of pissed Nikki off too, that I left. But I think that's when I called Nikki there, and she was like, she kind of realized that, she'd always be like, the second, she said second fiddle.
You're referencing that he has 2 kids, and then, you don't like that?
And so, are those people absolutely wrong about Nikki? She wasn't asking you to get rid of your family?
No.
Are you sure? Okay. And no part of any of this was because she put it in your head or asked you to, or?
She never, this whole relationship contributed to it, sure. But she didn't want me to.
Hey, was it ever like, I wish you didn't have kids, I want to have, kids of my own with you, like...
She never knew if she wanted to have kids, but she said that, at one point she said, I'd like to give you a son.
You guys, 6 to 8 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was, you guys had an intimate relationship during that time?
Yes.
Okay. So, you're pretty serious. Did he ever tell you that he loved you?
Yes, he did.
Did you ever tell him the same?
A couple times.
Now, we're standing that today, because those thoughts may have changed for you, but on, let's go Sunday into Monday, or Monday, did you still love him on those days?
I think it was something where it was like, I said it a few times and I meant it, but he definitely felt the urge to say it to me a lot more than I did to him, because it was just all very new to me, and I was like, take your time with this. Like, you don't need to like rush that, Like, I remember when he was in North Carolina and he was like trying to patch things up with his wife, and he told me he loved me, and I was like, don't say that to me. Like, please go try to fit. And I mean, and that might even be in the text too, where it's like, don't say those words to me and then go try to make peace with your wife and lay in bed with another woman. Like, just don't do that. And I was like, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're saying to me. It's like, it just didn't sit right for me, So I just feel like fix things with her. So it's just like, this is an inappropriate time, and I wasn't mad at him. And I'm pretty sure that's in the text too, where it was very like calm, but it's just like, it's almost disrespectful, where it's like, please don't. I'm like, if we get to that point where it is you and me, like, yes, you can say that, but not then. Like, that's...
So you thought he was very genuine when he said that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, and he wrote it. It's in all those cards I gave you. Not in all of them, but like the later ones.
And
thank you.
When you said it to him, you said you meant it when you said it.
Yes, I just didn't say it as frequently as he said it. Like, sometimes he would say it, and I was just like, for me, it was still like very, very new, so I kind of like took my time and only said it when I was just like, this is a really important moment.
Discussion about anything, like, you know, we talk about the future. I think all couples do talk about the future, but it was never like, hey, I'm like leaving her, we're gonna get a house together, you're moving in with me. It was never like this behind that. It's like, you know, once you guys, all your parents finalized, and you guys have decided to separate, and you and your own spot with your kids, I was like, I think the days that you're with your kids, you need to be with them like full time. You know, I'm not ready to meet your children. He didn't even ask me to meet his children. I mean, not yet, you know, but I told him, I was like, in the future, eventually, if we get to that point where we think we're ready, yes, but I'm not ready to meet your kids. They're not ready to meet me. You're not ready to have me meet them. And I was just telling you know, like, I think we should take our time. Like, ideally, I would only like one now with you know, on the days that you don't have me. And I was like, in the rest of those days, I was like, spend time with yourself, man. I was like, you've been in a relationship for a really long time. Like,
because that's how I would this, you know, I don't want to be anywhere else when Shanann calls. She was already pissed. So it was stuff like that where she would she would go. She said she would go on like websites and look at like more relationship work with somebody, like will a mistress work? Will a mistress turn into a relationship?
That's what Nikki was looking at. Yeah. She would tell you that, or you heard that? Okay.
Yeah, she said that she would go on websites and look at stuff like that. Just to, I'm like, why do you even look at stuff like that? Sure, I just want to see what other people have experienced.
But like, so that confuses me though, because I thought earlier you were saying she thought you were heading toward a divorce. So why was she looking at herself as a mistress?
This was later on.
Oh.
Like, you know, in August, like that first week of August, when I told her, like, you know, I hadn't had that talk with her about separation. That's when, like, she started looking at, like, apartments and stuff. But, like, during our July relationship type thing there.
Oh, I see.
That's when she was looking up, like, you know, if it would actually work. Okay. She told her friend Brittany about it, I guess. And Brittany told her not to do it, but she said she'd already made a decision.
Okay.
I wasn't like 100% sure this was like the man of my dreams and I was going to spend the rest of my life with him, right?
dating seriously and like building something with each other. But I mean, that was kind of my standstill on that. And, you know, I feel guilty that I should have like waited to, I guess, like initiate anything that we had together until after the situation finalized, as opposed to doing it while they were in the midst of separating.
Or I need to leave. I just need some space. Like, it didn't even, like, process. I was like, okay, like, give her some space, you know? And, on that note, too, when he was in, we're going to jump back for just a second because I had a thought. So when he was coming back from North Carolina, that was when he officially told me we're going to get a divorce and we're going to put the house up for sale. Like, he told me they were separating and they were, like, going to put the house up for sale, but they hadn't done it yet. And then when he got back from North Carolina, that was when he was like, it was like sealed deal.
Okay. Still made to delete everything. I didn't delete everything. It was, okay. I'm not sure why I didn't delete everything, but probably helped you guys out a little bit. But
She told you to delete everything?
delete all conversations.
Did she tell you why?
She just said delete it. I don't think you can ever delete a text message.
Are you guys, am I in trouble because I deleted his text?
You're not in trouble.
I didn't know what was going on at that point.
So, I know does that cause questions?
Of course it does.
There is, but is it criminal? No. Is there concern that you're hiding something? Potentially. That's why I want them, or I wouldn't be asking for them.
I know.
And you've been upfront with me about everything. I don't have a concern that you ever told Chris, I don't want you, go kill your wife, or get rid of your kids, or I don't want to date you if you have kids. None of those things ever came out of your mouth. We've talked about that. So,
To Nikki, yeah, and maybe that would have been like, like a light switch in my head goes off, light switch in her head goes off, maybe it just like goes different directions. That was kind of like my last, like,
opportunity to kind of get out, it seems like. Cause I wish I would have said, yeah, let's go. Yeah. And I think that would have just put me on a different trajectory.